Sidekick Media Services. We are your sidekick in business for social media, video production, and more. Find out more at sidekickmediaservices.com.
I'm your pal in the mainstream media.
And I'm your Riz.
And you know, Riz, it takes years of strenuous, dedicated training before you're worthy to step inside a professional wrestling ring. But it takes even more time to develop complex, highly astute opinions about professional wrestling. Am I right?
That is correct. You know where we can find that?
Yes.
On the Wrestling Ham.
That's right.
Sidekick Media Services. We are your sidekick in business for social media, video production, and more. Find out more at sidekickmediaservices.com.
Hello, friends. I'm your pal in the mainstream media.
And I'm your Riz.
And you know, Riz, it takes years of strenuous, dedicated training before you're worthy to step inside a professional wrestling ring. But it takes even more time to develop complex, highly astute opinions about professional wrestling. Am I right?
That is correct. You know where we can find that?
Yes.
On the Wrestling Ham.
That's right.
No, that's me. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com. This show is brought to you by Slice on Broadway, supporting Pittsburgh podcasting with the perfect pepperoni pizza. Production services by Sidekick Media Services. And listeners like you, supporting us at patreon.com/awesomecast. It is time to get geeky, get awesome. It is the AwesomeCast. I'm Mike Sorg at Sorgatron on the social media in the Sorgatron Media Studios in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, ready to get geeky with all of you out there. We got a crew with us today. First of all is from the Duds Cave, the social media photographer, media, everything person.
Yay.
Katie Dutters is with us.
I am here.
And suitably coffeed up. Let's see that amazing cup.
Oh no, it's my awesome thing of the week.
Oh, never mind. Oh, that's right. I buried lead. Never mind. Well, we also got here. Ignore. Nothing happened. And also with us from the iPhoneography podcast, Dave Podnar is with us as well.
Always glad to be here. And yes, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No cups here. No.
So I have smooth brain. Everything white.
What?
No
Smooth
lumps
brain?
or bumps.
Okay. Smooth Brain. Show title. And in turn, John is on the line as well out there. Surviving school things, I understand. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. And this is the AwesomeCast. We talk geeky things and try to stay positive in the world of technology, no matter what's going on in the world, as much as we can. But on the Patreon, maybe we'll let loose a little bit and let you know what we really think. But in the meantime, let's get into our... Since I kind of revealed it by accident, let's go with one awesome thing by one. Katie, what do you got here since I got it set up?
I know you almost gave it away. So I was drinking. It's actually honey lemon water because allergies and whatever happening in the world.
Making it happen.
So I pulled my cup up and I forgot. You've never seen my cat butt cup. It says it's a green cup, or it's white green, and it has a black cat and a little heart for a little bum hole, and it says "Make today perfect."
Mm-hmm.
And then the back says "Get off your," and it's a kitty with his little heart butthole.
Perfect
and
one.
Inside says "Bottoms up."
Where'd you get that thing?
My friend found it at the thrift store. I love this thing. It is actually one of my favorite mugs. It is held up so well, and it doesn't spill. I don't know. I've recently discovered that some mugs are too smooth on this part, like outward, like they'll go like this. So I'll go to carry it, and it'll just go sloosh right out. So I have discovered that is a problem for me. I'm a spiller.
I am also a spiller. I'm the one that doesn't put the cup on appropriately and end up just like pouring half a cup on my front right before my first class.
Yeah. That's why I use straws. Every time we get coffee, I use the straw.
You do. I don't even know if they had straws there because it's just like they have it's like a the coffee at the hotel where it says Starbucks, but it's really just we have a thing back here that says Starbucks. Yeah, not exactly full fledged, but anyways, I'm learning. At least it has a cute name like Point Perk for that one. Well, okay.
we have one in a library called the Cup and Chaucer, which I thought was very
wow.
I love that.
I love college coffee shops. Anyways, let's go with Dave Podnar. What is your awesome thing of the week?
Sure. My awesome thing is something that I believe just happened today. Basically, it's been, I think they said 30-some years since the Concorde last flew.
Okay.
So it's been a long time since we've had commercial supersonic air service.
Mm-hmm.
And that really was heavily subsidized. So it really was not commercially viable.
Sure.
So what they're doing, it's a private company. And this is the first private company that had a plane for commercial use actually break the sound barrier.
Okay.
And it was over at Edwards Air Force Base is where they flew it at, because you can't right now fly a sonic boom over populated areas.
Mm-hmm.
For, basically you don't want to crack windows, which can happen. If you fly far enough down or the sonic boom's bad enough, it feels like a mini earthquake, which is not good in California because people are already waiting. So the big thing here, it's only a prototype, so it's not full scale.
Mm-hmm.
But they're doing some things, though. They're trying to make it where it can be used. I think it's I'm trying to think the acronym, because it's engineering, so there has to be an acronym. Basically, there's environmentally friendly airline fuel that's available. Basically, if you think like you can run a car on French fry grease, use French fry grease for a diesel engine, very similar, that you can take the waste grease and convert it into airline fuel instead of using the current airline jet fuel, which is not real good for environment in general. And they're working on ways to reduce the sonic boom. So it may be that you'll be able to fly this basically over the US, because when the Concorde was flying, it could only go supersonic over the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could do this and make it where you can fly it New York to LA, Denver, New York, these longer, it's still only going to be 60 seats. So we're not talking jumbo jet. We're not talking hundreds of people on it. But if they can get it to where it's a little bit, maybe it'll cost a little bit more than your standard airline, but if you can get to there a lot quicker, people are willing to pay for that. And the other thing that's, if you remember the Concorde, it had that weird kind of, the nose kind of went straight kind of down like it was broken.
Mm-hmm.
That's because for aerodynamics, that nose has to be very, very sharp and very, very up. So the pilots literally could not see where they were going. So with this new one, they actually have, and I don't know if you could hear it, if the sound, but you can actually see where the camera shakes a little bit right there. So that's when the sonic boom hits everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of exciting that this is a privately developed, privately funded. So they're looking for extra money and it isn't just a matter of we're going to make this supersonic, but we understand that yes, we have to worry about environmental issues. We have to worry about, overpopulated areas. We have to make this economically feasible. So a lot of the headlines were wrong because they said this is the first civilian supersonic airplane, which the Concorde was around, but the Concorde was developed by jointly by the British and UK governments. So this is really the first civilian privately developed.
And this is and I love because we had a very similar conversation about this because our friend Ryan Reynolds from Lockheed Martin, remember he had his cool Hawaiian shirt with the plane they were working on. I think they're trying to solve a non-sonic boom supersonic or something like that, like a way to do that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, because I was trying to remember what that was, I believe that was their X-59 project that they have going on over there, that I just found on it was announced about a year ago on January 12th, 24, about that. And I love it. You don't know, we kind of pulled it up on Aero Design, what was that, probably Florida or California, I can't remember, Katie, probably California. Where he had that Hawaiian jacket with their plane all over it because it's one that he had been working on. And we got to hear a little bit about that project on one of the videos we did. I think it's on the TikTok for SAU University programs, actually, if you want to go back and see that. Very cool that there's a lot of progress in this because, there hasn't been a lot of advances in at least commercial air travel in a while, right? As far as it's the same, it's great. You're going 400 miles an hour, getting to California in 6 hours is pretty freaking amazing, honestly. But 5 hours maybe actually. But whatever it is, I'll find out very, very shortly again. But no, it's very cool that's an option, and we'll see. When we talk about, like, this is something that, intercontinental travel, it could be very helpful with.
Yeah, I would say intercontinental, and also if they can solve the sonic boom issue across continent.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know they didn't say what the range they were going for is. So I don't know if Pacific travel would be doable. Because Pacific travel, let's say from LA to Tokyo or LA to Beijing, it's so weird because most people, of course, forget we're on a globe. So when you're flying from, let's say, the west coast of the U.S. to somewhere in Asia, you're not flying like across the globe, across Hawaii. You're kind of going up to Alaska and down.
Right.
So so it throws a little bit off, but it's still even like I said, New York, L.A., or going to South America and some flights. That's even take the time off of that. That would be
that's even it was madness to me, the fact that when I went to Thailand, we did it via I think Shanghai, China, and we went up and over the North Pole. You couldn't see anything up there, but and I imagine, I don't know environmentally if that's an issue going over the North Pole with the ice and stuff with the sonic booms, but there's nobody but the polar bears, right? So I don't know what that would do. So very cool advancements. I feel like we're on a very sciencey kind of thread here too, because my awesome thing of the week, this came up on an Office Hours Global about doing content in something like this. And, we all know the Las Vegas sphere, right? And how it's got to be like madness to kind of create like a cool, like, content for something like that that's spherical all around you, 180-degree kind of situation. But there's a lot of people I listen to that do 360 content, have worked with it, experimented with it over the years. And I thought this is very cool when they brought up this kind of mechanism. It's called a Star Lab. It's not what, I feel like this sounds like some of the things we've heard talked about in the news over the last week. Starlab.com is where you can find this. So basically, it is an inflatable, excuse me. I'm not going to test its flammability. It's inflatable 360-degree theater, ideally for something like, think of was it with the stars? Observatory,
planetarium,
yeah, kind of thing.
Planetarium,
Apparently, they've been doing this for a long time. They say they've been doing these for 46 years. But you can absolutely, like, it's a fun thing that they're showing it. Like one of them shows it like kind of blown up in the middle of a school gymnasium or something like that. So yeah, it's a cool thing that you can go in, kind of have the kids all sit down, crisscross applesauce style, and there it is being inflated. Actually, I thought this would be a lot of fun to play with and make some stuff, for making some content that for something like this. Like I just kind of want to use it as a theater for content creation. We've had a little bit of 360 video experience in the past, and I could see some interesting applications to something like this. So, it was having fun going through the website on this because there is a little bit of help us build your Star Lab. So obviously this is kind of aimed at educational sort of entities or something like that, but really I think anybody can get one of these to some extent. But if you go into it, like I was like going in and building your systems, like, okay, you want to own one, you want to rent one, do you want to add curriculum or accessories to this? You can upgrade your Star Lab. I wonder what they got here. You have your group size, 0 to 25. They must have multiple sizes because they're talking large groups sometimes of 50 plus when you do this. So let's do our small one here, and let's say meteorology, geology, choose your own adventure. How many people are in your team that need training? They kind of go through this, and how's your funding? For your mission, for instance, and then
give us your information.
I'm sure it's for a quote contact information situation, but I thought it was interesting what they were asking for something like that. So that's
it does say it comes in 5, 6, and 7 meter sizes.
Wow. Yeah, it's a good size. That's a good size. Katie, what could you see kind of doing, making content for something like this?
I want to put like a bouncy floor inside of it. And then we can just...
Well, if you just get 2 of them,
let's take it up a notch. Let's take it up a notch.
You get 2 of them, and then it could just be like a inflatable cylinder, bouncy cylinder situation, right?
It'd be like you're on the moon. You're just like bounding with zero gravity.
Yes. Can we just put it over a bouncy house?
Yeah, you could just the bouncy house without a roof, and then you just be like, "Wee, I'm on the moon." No gravity for me.
I want to know a little bit about the 3D projector. I think we've seen like versions of this. Like I remember the Air Museum down in Florida. They installed something that had kind of a world. Their default was like having a meteorological, like basically like you look around and it's the globe. Oh, that's right. They had a globe in the center, and those multi-projectors, like shining, like four projectors were hitting this globe. So actually, I'm thinking reverse of what this thing's doing. So I knew I had experienced something very similar to this previously, but I mean, it's a really cool application to see. So if you're like, where are they doing 360 videos? That's not people with a Apple Vision Pro. This is one of the places where you can make some content like that, right? And use things like those Insta360 cameras and those high-end cameras or whatever. I guess the stereoscopic is a different thing that the Blackmagic is doing, because that is for something like Adobe. But think of like all the Ricoh Thetas and everything we played with over the years, there was only like one camera. It would apply really, really well for something like this. So I'd love to play some of that old Baja content that I have from when we were testing that. For instance, it could be a lot of fun.
Now, Sorg, I did happen to find one place, I don't think it's local, that you can rent these from.
Okay.
First day is $200.
Okay.
And additional days are $125 per day.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's really not bad. We just need a space for it. I don't have I don't have that much space here. So-
Oh no. I understand that, but I like you said, for schools for renting $200, that's
yeah.
not unreasonable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if
To
it's,
rent out,
and it fits nicely in your gymnasium. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
or it could even do a classroom.
Absolutely.
They say you only need 21 feet by 21 feet by 12 feet.
Yeah, that could be tough in a classroom a lot of times. Like especially if you're a city classroom. So those buildings are old and
I
really
know.
awkward. So yeah. So anyways, so that was a fun thing that came up this week. So and did we mention that for your that was Boom Supersonic AIAA that was doing the jet? I'm not sure if that was mentioned. If it was, I just want to make sure reiterate who that was.
Okay, I don't think we did. No.
Yeah, and that article was out of Axios, and I played a little bit of video from. This messed me up because I thought I said Jim Sherman on the LinkedIn, and it's Jim Sherman. So with the video of it, so awesome. Well, also awesome. Thank you everybody that does support this show, supports the AwesomeCast on our Patreon page. We do have the Patreon feed going a little bit before the show, and we actually run it all through the night, so you can see all the transition between shows for this and for everybody that does follow us over on the Mayhem Show Patreon as well. And we do have a new / returning Patreon supporter this week. Brian Crawford is I believe that is a Project Pittsburgh exhibition now. I think that he's working on is rejoined the Patreon as our executive producer. So thank you, Brian, for joining the Patreon there. Also, thank you to our longtime Patreon supporters Cynthia Klosky, John Nagor, and hey, look, it's Dave Potter. Hello. Thank you guys for supporting the show, helping keeping the gears running here and the servers spinning for the AwesomeCast as we continue into 2025, over a decade and a half now of the AwesomeCast podcast. So, all right, guys, now it's for the awesome old thing of the week. And this was actually, I forgot to put the links into the document, but I'll pull them up here in a second. There actually has been a little bit of news we'll get to in a second about Pebble watches. You remember these things, guys. They are nice little e-ink watches. I actually have 3 of them somehow. So in one of these, this is the original Kickstarter one. It is so old. So these have been just kind of like latched and attached to one of my shelves in the old game room for a while, and I pulled this one off, and the rubber of the original Kickstarter one has cracked and came apart at some point. So that was pretty incredible. I cannot get any of these to turn on. I had them charging all day to see if we could get them going, except that the white one, which I think appears to be, no, maybe not the newer model, because this one seems a little bit smaller. The black one seems a little bit smaller, but I could get it to the point where it did have the Pebble boot screen, but would not go beyond it. So these were before we had our Apple Watches and Android watches and everything like that. Maybe Fitbit was a thing at the time. This is actually, so this was started on Kickstarter. Again, this is Chilla's Kickstarter edition of it, the red one here. That's all he had. It was a little bit bigger, kind of comparative. I have a Series 8 Apple Watch, for instance, so you can see what the sizing is if you're with us on video there. But it was e-ink. It lasted for, I think, the better part of a week, if I recall, as far as battery goes, which was really nice. You could kind of wear it all the time. You got your text messages. It had to synchronize with an app on your iPhone or your Android. And I'm trying to remember if it looks like there's maybe some fitness tracking in this black one here with a little bit of a sensor on the back like you would see on the back of an iPhone. This was like, my wife had one, I had one, and we really we upgraded from that Kickstarter edition when they were updating, at least until the next versions. They had color editions that were out eventually, round editions that were up, and eventually this company did get purchased by Fitbit, which then got purchased by Google. But the very cool thing that kind of goes along with this is if you do have these or happen to find one or can replace the battery in something like this, they do survive these days, and they are still a nice, e-ink kind of thing, and especially if you have some of the newer ones that they were putting out towards the end of the life there. And as I'm going through that, I was looking at, there is a community. We've always heard about the community that kind of gets us to survive. A lot of the source code is actually on GitHub. You can kind of build an app into this. Obviously, it's a little bit easier on Android. So there were several aspects to this that I was playing with today to try to get these work. And the scary word came up that everybody here that has an iPhone probably, brings in their ears, side loading. Turns out side loading is a lot easier than it used to be, guys. It's, thanks to like developer modes and things like that. So I pulled that up and I was going through, and again, I linked these over here under the story. And we'll talk about the latest news on this in a moment. So if you're interested in getting the old Pebbles working again on your phone, there is a site called rebel.io. Again, Pebble, Rebel, spell it that way. Nope, that's Dave. There we go. So it'll actually go through the Rebel web services is kind of their GitHub kind of thing. To work through it. They created the Rebel web services to kind of take place of the web services that would make the Pebble work in that case. And in order to get into it, you do have to go through a setup guide, which does include downloading the IPA file on an iPhone. And again, there's a version of this for the Android as well. Unfortunately, some of the features are kind of hit and miss because of the way that the iPhones are set up with things. But if you go in here, it shows you where to get those files. And again, it hasn't been updated for a good long time. But if you get into this led me to an app called Sideloadly. This is what's going to. So I have two minds on this one. First, okay, get the old Pebble app on your phone. I did that. It's on there. This thing has been off of the App Store for several years, but I definitely have the Pebble app. It's actually having issues because I couldn't get one of these going to pair enough. So I might try to throw them on a charger for a little bit longer and see what happens. But it's there and it's functional and it should work relatively with your phone. And again, this is an iOS 18 phone situation. But also, I've been annoyed at a game that I purchased ages ago that went away off of the App Store that I would love to play, which was the resurrection of the WWE WrestleFest arcade game. That unfortunately was a THQ game, and THQ went out of business and took everything with it at the time. So there's two things I found with this. Did you know that there's iPhone apps on the Internet Archive? Judging by look, I don't think you did, Dave. Yeah. So we all know there's like old games and stuff on there, right? Because I'm going through and I'm hitting this. I'm clicking through for these and looking these up. And you can download. So the interesting thing is, like, I found a thing that was like everything Rockstar put out. Now, here's the issue. A lot of these are very deprecated because a lot of them are 32-bit. And as of iOS 11, we're on 18 now, they, just like we did with macOS, we got rid of 32-bit apps. So if the developer wasn't updating them, they're completely deprecated whether you purchase them or not. You cannot install them or anything. But you can still go find these. And if you have an old iPhone, load these onto your machine. Now I'm getting the Internet Archive apps on the App Store itself. I'm trying to get to the one for the archive. If you go in over here on software, and then I just went to all software, and I think we just typed in iPhone apps. And of course, like a lot of things like old DOS games, I was like looking at, if I spell it right, I was looking at, they'll load in DOSBox in the browser and you can have some fun with that. There's old Angry Birds and Piggy's Collection. There's old, Metal Slug 3 was on there. And it's the IPA file. And if you know what to do with that, you can. Fortnite's on there. Old Call of Duty Zombies Light that was on there.
I see Apple Arcade.
Yeah, Apple Arcade, Disney Infinity Toy Box that I know. Now the issue is, I had this before where we heard about an Android game that was a WWE racing game that I wanted to play. I did get it onto one of those emulators on a computer, on a PC, but unfortunately, if it's something that includes web services, you're not going to get to it. If it's something that needs to log into a server or something like that, which a lot of these apps, a lot of those kinds of apps often did, you're going to have a problem with that. Thankfully, I think the game that I'm trying to get working is definitely very all encompassing. Like it's all together and because the apps didn't really report out before, when you downloaded arcade games that I recall, like the early ones or anything like that. So, you can also get your Flappy Birds because that's another thing that kind of went down, right? So, or maybe even old versions of TikTok is in here. But it's really interesting. There's definitely some kind of questionable stuff because I see like Mario Brothers or Mario World and stuff, and I was like, I don't know if there's just people are throwing emulators on here or something. But again, relatively easy. You get this sideloadly. It's on Mac and Windows. You log in with your, and again, if you feel comfortable with this, because this definitely opens up some security holes. Did you get this IPA file from somewhere that you trust? Did you, you're opening things up in the developer mode, which means most of the things that protect your phone are now open, for instance. But it is a lot easier to do that right now. So you could definitely bring stuff in here that, I want to see if I can get the Epic Game Store. Even though there was like a side app store that I stumbled upon that had like, what do you call it? Fall Guys from Epic on there, which that would be amazing if I could play that on my phone, right? But very, very cool. That's sideloadly.io if you want to check out that part of it. Now, the story that this is going to is where I was going to with this is the original, obviously Google has open sourced themselves the Pebble software. They're not using it. I think it kind of got thrown in when they bought the Fitbit. They've applied some of the Fitbit stuff to their own Android Wear or whatever you call it situation. And for some reason, this story is not loading in Apple News anymore. That's fun. Hey, here's a side thing. I enjoy Apple News because remember when The Verge said that they're going to start charging for things? They're included in Apple News. So I'm getting all of the charged content, which is, again, I love The Verge, but without paying anything extra because I'm already paying for the Apple One program, right? So
okay, so this is part of Apple News Plus.
Yes, it's definitely part of News Plus. If you're paying for it. Unfortunately, if I put the links in there, it gets really fishy when it comes to things. They'll turn on personalized ads, I guess. So now I'm going to have to play with this and get this article back up with Pebble real quick. There it is. This is the story I'm looking for if you guys are looking for it later. Again, the Pebble smartwatch is making a comeback. Again, it's been researched. It's been open sourced, and one of the original, is it the original? Actually, no, this is one of the guys that was doing remember the app Beeper that was trying to get your iMessages on Android and other computers?
Yes, you made us download it.
We made you. No, Chachi was the most pissed about it. It was like, here, do this so you're not a green bubble anymore. And then RCS finally happened, right? But they went and bought it because they're like, I like my Pebble. And they went and bought the assets from Google, apparently, whatever was left of Pebble. They're going to call it something else, and they're going to be building it up. They actually have a couple employees right now. There's some of the nice color versions of the watches that they had going on. So whether it's going to be any, there's a lot of smartwatches out there, and this is very e-ink, and it'd be nice to see what 10 years later of e-ink watches kind of improve upon. But also, I think some people just want something simple versus what, a $200-$300 watch is going to provide at this point here. So, Katie, you're a longtime Apple Watch user. What do you think of a comeback of a Pebble? And I can't remember if you wore one of these or not for a bit.
Fitbit. I was either Fitbit or Apple Watch.
So, I mean, it could be nice for those simpler days, right? When you don't want to have an entire computer. What's that?
A throwback. I can just get a calculator watch instead.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. I'm not even sure if they were. I don't think they were even touchscreen. They just had our buttons on us. I remember playing games on these things. You did. Like the simplest of games were on these things, like Snake or something like that, right? So, what about you, Dave? Were you a Pebble user back in the day?
No, like Katie, I was Fitbit, and then going over to Apple Watch. But I could see, like you said, not everyone needs, all this extra stuff. If you're not looking for a fitness watch, have something that is just a notification on your wrist. So that makes it easier because then you don't have to pull out your phone every 5 seconds. Oh, I got a notification. What is it? It could be something important, could be junk. So something on your wrist, like the Apple Watch does, but you take out all the fitness stuff and, all the extra and just make it a notification system for your wrist and a watch. And you should be able to make that, especially with EE, pretty cheap because the original Pebble didn't even have GPS on it. So they didn't have to pay. All they had to do was pay for the, have the Bluetooth radio. They didn't have to pay for GPS or the battery with GPS and everything else. So if you rely on the phone for a lot of the heavy lifting, that could make the cost much more affordable and reasonable for people to do.
Absolutely. It'd be more accessible for people, right, as well.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this Kickstarter edition one was one I got in a trade when I traded the Google Glass to Chilla. And one thing I liked about the Google Glass was the notifications. It was my first thing about having don't take your phone out of your pocket notifications, and it solved that for me. And this replaced it. Like, this gave me that one function of Google Glass, the notifications that I really appreciated was the it's the first my wrist is buzzing. What did Katie say to me? Kind of situation. That I really appreciated that, and that kind of bridged the gap into what became an Apple Watch user. For me, I think I got it in the Series 3. Because I remember it came out and it was so expensive, and you're just like, well, what does that really do that these don't for me? At that point. And like I said, I'm pretty sure this version has a fitness thing on it too, of some sort. There's something on there.
The later versions did have fitness built in.
And it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. So we definitely kind of went with that for a while. I mean, God, we got 3 of them amongst us. So very, very cool. So.
And that was one of the early Kickstarters that went viral.
Oh yeah, it was one of the first big ones. Yeah.
Because I was just looking up some background. Their goal was 100,000, and they got 10.3 million.
Yep. Yep. And that was and this is the same. That was the same designer, Eric Migakowski. Let's try that on his name. He was one of the original starters with it. They worked with Y Combinator and everything with this, and of course, they actually kicked off with $370,000 in from angel investors in that time. Man, remember when angel investors were a thing? Does that even happen at any scale anymore? That sounds like a bygone era. So,
now we're venture capitalists.
Venture capitalists, yes.
No more
venture capitalists and Saudi money. It's all that to get anywhere these days, right? So that's why they went into the beeper situation as a follow-up. I don't know how many follow-ups are between then and now, but that's wild. You could display RSS and JSON feeds on here. Interesting. Sorry, I'm going into the technical things right now. And I'm really sensitive to RSS because we're doing a lesson on RSS feeds this week on class. So, but there you go. Larger generations. There's a Pebble Time, and the Pebble 2 came out. Maybe this is a Pebble 2. That could be. That's very possible. Yeah, it has a heart rate monitor on it. Nice. They closed in 2016, so they've had some time to cool off. So, I just went down like a crazy side-loading Pebble rat hole today, and that was a lot of fun, actually. So we'll see what happens with Rebel whenever this builds up, and hopefully we'll have a new Rebel watch to talk about a year from now. I'm sure it'll have AI somehow at this rate, right? So, all right, let's get to the back of the book here on anything else going on.
Yep, it's the news.
And see what else is happening. Dave, I know you had a couple of stories over here. If you can pull one up for me.
Sure. You know what? Going on the positive route, the Hillman Talk University on TikTok. And the story, it's in a way a little funny. It's a professor who's teaching a real course at a university, and she put a TikTok up talking to her students, and she thought she was talking to her 30-some students, but then people realized it, and all of a sudden you had responses from hundreds of thousands of people saying, oh, I would love to take this course. How do I take this course? So what happened is she said, okay, I didn't expect this, but I will have a separate feed that you, as a TikTok user, could take my class in. Here's my syllabus. Here's what we're going to discuss. We will have I'll have basically a live lecture once a week, and we'll go over it. And then all of a sudden, other people and other professors started to build on top of it. So there's classes in beginning. I've actually started 2 classes in beginning gardening. There's an emergency, like an EMT course. That's kind of the history of EMTs for emergency medical. There's, I think, around there's actually a link with one of the people actually has a list of all, basically a Google spreadsheet with a list. There we go, of all and these are all the courses that are being offered. And these include live lectures from professors, real professors. No, not just like if I'm doing a course on iPhoneography, but someone at a university, and they're doing all this teaching and everything. Right there, that Google Doc at the very top is actually the link to the Google Doc itself. So, you can see there are a ton of different courses here, the assignments, the class time. And basically it was people were like, one part, it was just like an accidental find, and other people like, that's a great idea. And they're, yes, I want to add. So I'll add myself. And they treat it just like if you're auditing a course at a university.
And this is not the kind of content that they were putting on their TikTok before this, for sure.
No,
they're just like dance videos and hanging out in like Costco or something, like kind of stuff. And then it became and here we are, we're doing TikTok University.
Yeah.
So, that's really cool. What kind of class was she?
This one I don't know.
Is it a community college that she was working at or something? Did you say?
Yeah, the very first one was a Black History course.
Okay.
African American Studies.
Okay.
Dr. Barlow, and I'm trying to see where she was located. I don't see it, but yeah, other people just started to add on. So.
Very cool.
So it's just a matter of so it's like, okay, it's an online forum with tens of classes and faculty. Now originally it was heavily really targeted toward the African American community. But if you are interested in a subject, they're not going to say, oh, you're too we don't want you here. It's open for anyone.
Open for anybody to check out. That's awesome. That's very cool. I love the. I mean, the biggest thing when we talk about podcasting, internet, and everything like that is the democratization of information, and it doesn't matter the tool you use, And if something like a TikTok that has a good algorithm that's going to disseminate that and get it in front of more eyeballs, that's how this stuff happens. This stuff doesn't happen as easily on Instagram or YouTube. There's just something supercharged in there that they're doing. So that's very, very cool. So that is label me _K on the TikTok if you want to go look that up. And Michaela is the name. So awesome. Very, very cool. And we got the show linked here in the show notes as well, or the story about it linked in the show notes as well. Very cool, Dave. And Dudders, what do you got on the list over here?
You see the sell your phone on TikTok on eBay?
I've heard about this.
I forgot to put that in till a few minutes ago. Let's go to eBay.
What's
you got a phone with TikTok on it? Let's go to eBay.
Oh no. What is happening on eBay? Now
thousands of dollars. You can sell your phone with the TikTok app still installed for thousands of dollars.
All right. How do I see ones that are done, that are actually done? Or
I don't remember.
Yeah, they were trying to figure this out on our show I was watching too, because I mean that's the thing, they can say how many are actually selling it for $5,000, right?
Yeah, but still, the thought wild. To put your thing out there with for thousands of dollars.
I have some logistical issues with this, Katie. First of all, like you have TikTok on your phone and you give it to somebody else. What about the user on the phone, right? Like, yeah. Like, are you signing up with an Apple account that you're now giving them the password? Like, what is? I have some. Listen, from watching somebody in our facility dealing with two-factor authentication with clients. How does this work when you hand it off? You're fine until you have to do a software update of any sort or something, or it's just because I know old iPads demand that I have a password, even though it can't reach the reach the Apple Store anymore, for instance, right? So like I don't know what we're doing here. Wow. Like fundamentally.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Okay, so the questions like this one, there's an Android phone with TikTok installed, and it's $50,000. There's 161 people watching it.
Okay.
And so it turns into like the whole question of like Beanie Babies went for a ton of money. Like what else is on these phones? Like it wasn't just the Beanie Babies that were going for a ton of money.
Yeah.
Still, there were things inside the Beanie Babies. Like what are we smuggling in these phones beyond the TikTok app?
Okay, I'm clicking on buy it now to see what happens. Now the buy it nows they're asking for are $8,000 for an Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max with TikTok on it. There's a $40,000 and just have a picture, the logo for TikTok. I'm sure that's completely on the up and up. There's a 14 with TikTok they're trying to sell for $40,000. $500 for an Android with TikTok. There you go. Go Android kids. 50, 40,000. I go, who is selling this? Who is actually selling this? Well, here, show me ones that have been sold. I gotta find this. Jeez.
Yeah, well, just remember, per the market, it's not what you consider it's worth. It's what the market is willing to pay for it.
If you're a creator,
Truth.
There is a sucker born every minute.
Or you're some kind of creator that needs TikTok phones for some reason, and you were going to buy one this week, and then oh no, or your phone got damaged, I guess, and you're a creator and you need one now.
Yeah.
Right. I gotta make my contact for my people. Because you're trying to make your living on the TikToks, and they decided to shut it off. It's like I keep forgetting that it's still not on the stores, right? Because they're still enforcing.
Right.
The role, which is just freaking madness right now. I can tell you we went back to live streaming because it does not benefit us to do live streams through the software for TikTok on a computer, and it's a lot harder to do. There's a lot of like hoops we gotta jump through to make it work. But when I put a phone up around the wrestling shows that we do on Thursday for the training, we were getting like thousands of views. We only got 2,000 views this time, for instance, right? We had like almost 1,000 people watching through most of the night before. Now we had like 20 at a time most of the night, which is still not bad, but it's not what we had before. And I don't know, because we went on almost a month hiatus because, again, between the move and not knowing what TikTok was going to do. So I was like, well, let's not worry about this for a little bit. So I'm curious to see if it does build up. It's just kind of wild. Also, as a follow-up, do not download Red Note. Delete it if you have. I probably still need to. Also, probably do not download this new AI that we've been talking about on a lot of things. What is it called? Deep something, right? DeepSeek. Probably don't download that. Don't download that, guys. It's got some questionable security concerns around them. So little tip there. Let's not get you in trouble with those things, at least.
DeepSeek is correct. It is called DeepSeek. There was a whole stock market.
Yes.
It's a really good crash course in how expectations shape the stock market.
Absolutely.
It is not some like secret algorithm. It is just what people think is happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's I have my own thoughts on the stock market myself. But yeah, here's a little explainer for you guys on what's going on here. Supposedly the tech stocks all crashed on, I think it was Monday, if I'm not mistaken, because basically China came out and said, we have this thing called DeepSeek and can do everything you guys did, and we spent about a quarter of what everybody else did, if not lower.
Even smaller.
Even
it was
smaller
like they said they did it on $6 million.
Yeah, versus the like $100 million or $80 million or whatever that everybody else has been doing theirs on.
And it's old hardware. They're saying they didn't use, because they can't get access to the latest and greatest because U.S. companies are not allowed by law to send the latest and greatest to China.
Yeah.
So they were using old NVIDIA hardware, and they said, we got the same results on this old hardware as the new hardware.
Which makes you wonder how they got there, because they don't have, obviously there's been a lot of back and forth about rules about AI in this country and copyrights and all those kinds of things. And if they were able to just suck up all the data in China, well, that's a big data set, So they maybe got a head start about the methods that they used when it came to that, because they're not going to reveal that because it's a Chinese company. So it's very interesting to see what happens there. And in the wake of what we're seeing with the TikTok situation, you know, will we see more action on Chinese apps like this that are definitely already the security community is saying, yeah, this is not, you're basically sending your data straight to China. Do not pass go. There's no, because I don't think we don't have rules. Europe has this, but I don't think we have any official rules on the books to make sure your data is here in America if you have an American presence on an app or a website or something like that. But Europe definitely does, and some other countries do as well. So they try to localize that, so you're still, dependent on that country's rules, right? Because if all your data is in, China, your data is now up for grabs for Chinese rules, and Americans can't, America can't do what they need to do in law enforcement or anything like that as well. So everybody's pulling for it. So very interesting to see how that's going to shake out here in the near future. So I downloaded it right away and then realized, oh, this is a problem. So I need to get that thing off my phone. But but still, I mean, it's whatever data you put into it, most likely, and everything too. So, and I like to still kind of think if you download it off the App Store, that means there's some level of scrutiny that Apple still put it through. And they've always been a little more stringent than even Android has been. So I don't know, but that has been wrong from time to time as well. So, take it with your own risk. There's a whole thing on Wired about what data it collects from you and everything too. So very interesting to see where we go with that. Has anybody had to deal with the Copilot uprising this week?
No.
I have not heard of that.
So apparently this is a whole thing. This is the explainer. This is the hot tip and explainer part of the show. Allegedly, Office Microsoft 365 for consumers upped their rates about $3. They haven't upped their rates in about a decade. Didn't tell you why, and now there's buttons to bug you to use Copilot basically everywhere.
Ooh.
And on a lot of apps, it doesn't work yet. And they said give it a month. So you're paying for a thing, and the funny thing is the Mac apps are the ones that are getting it first, from what I hear. So we'll see how that goes. So Gemini is in like everything. It feels like it's bugging me on every Google thing that I'm into. So and so Missy has been dealing with this because she's a very avid Office user and uses Workspace, or not Workspace, uses Office across multiple accounts and things like that. I'm getting into it because of my school account is very into Microsoft 365, so I'm starting to see it myself. I was really curious because I was like, Copilot, make a presentation about podcast technology and RSS feeds for me. And I got a big outline. I was like, all right, it's not, I wasn't going to use it, but there's already an outline for me, but I was just kind of curious what it would look like. And I was like, that's a good start, honestly, just to kind of organize my thoughts, and my scatter, what we call it, Katie, spicy brain. It puts some function like, okay, if I follow this list, because I know how to fill in the blanks, boom, 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 right? So you're good to go there. So that was really kind of curious. And I want to do the same thing with Gemini because I know it's in, in that side and everything too. So I don't know if I pay for it. That's terrible too. So I don't know. You guys been running into any of this? Any unwanted AIs being thrown in your face everywhere?
Luckily not me, but even though we're on Office 365 in our office, I use the desktop apps.
Okay, that's going to start.
So I'm not using the web-based app. So we don't have, they said, oh, we're going to put Copilot and everything, so you can just go into, like I said, go into PowerPoint, give a description, and it'll make the slides for you.
That's scary because you know how many people are going to be lazy and just go present that.
Oh yeah,
like that's scary, man. Like I'm using AI to do the social media posts, and I've had a couple where I'm like, oh, well, that didn't make any sense. That's not what that guy's name is, and I have to go back and repost some stuff or something, right? Or there was something we got called out on. It was like, we're going to fire the intern, which is me with ChatGPT. But
do not be slandering my good name.
No. It's the other one, not the intern John. I did not name by name. In this case, it's intern chat GPT that I'm experimenting with. Yes. What's that?
My dad was talking to me about how he is like, he's watching YouTube videos about how to use AI better to write like a grant or something, that his colleague was like, okay, you guys have to completely rewrite this because you did it with AI and it's horrible. And I was like, why don't you just watch a YouTube video on how to write and then you don't have to go through all of this? And he was like, wow, I didn't think of that. Like, oh.
There you go. It's using the right tool for the job, right? ChatGPT is a big hammer and everything looks like a nail. Because we're trying to make it work for it, right? So that's why I'm trying to apply it to too many things. But the couple of things I do, it saves me a ton of time and gets more done. And again, it's just, and also check everything. What was it? The discussion I was listening to, the production thing today was don't use it for final product, and you create and then vet on that if you do anything with it. So because it's just not there for a lot of that kind of stuff, unless it's just goofy stuff we do here, where I use Sorg just to do random B-roll footage, and it was such a goofy video, we just dumped it in there anyways, and I got pro wrestlers just flying in different ways and their limbs are getting weird, and it was like, that's okay, the video we're doing is surreal to begin with, and it's just for fun. It's not going into like a client video or anything like that, but it will inform something along the line, down the line, that we'll be able to do with it and understanding those technologies. So, but, who isn't using it for a little bit of touch up and like, make this seem a little more professional, things like that. So, try. I don't know how many times I've had to read a script on a clip and I said, no, we're talking about this. Consider this when we're talking. I did like 2 or 3 videos today when I was posting them. So anyways, but we know Katie's the expert in AI applications here. With her.
It was funny because I was on a call today. We're part of Highmark, has a run later this year in the summer. It's a fundraiser. And we had a Zoom call, and everybody's AI kept jumping in that they're, and the problem is like Highmark does not allow AI beyond whatever their particular use is. So every time someone joined, she would have to punt their AI assistant.
Oh, wow. See, that's interesting because my Zoom just kind of automatically does it. So,
yeah.
Wow. What can you tell me what platform that's on? Is that Teams?
That would have been a Teams call. Yeah.
Okay, so everybody had that. Like, I know I had the app that I couldn't get rid of for a while because I'm like, I installed it from every computer I thought I had, and it's still popping up on Teams calls. I'm like, I'm sorry about this. So, yeah, I really need to start using the voice recorder. The phone recorder thing when I'm on calls with like paying bills and things like that. Because that. Because they tell you, I'm always interested in, they tell you it may be recorded, and I can be like, yes, this is also being recorded on my end too. You're like, does that end the call? Do they have a policy? Or, I'd love to find that out, but I'd also like to pay my gas bill. So, anyways, guys, it's so much fun. We are discovering technologies together, I suppose. Which is cool because we have something to talk about that we're all playing with. KatieDudas.com, where you can find all the links for everything you're working on, for instance.
Stuff and things.
Including that run that you just dropped for later. This Thrive 412.
412 Thrive.
412 damn it.
Sure. Close.
I hope you have both domains.
We have 412thrive.org and .com. So that's as far as
there
I've
you
gone
go.
With multiple
there you
donations.
go. You were just sharing. There's some. There was was it some. I don't know. You were sharing something for Thrive lately. Follow.
Oh sure. We Super Bowl poll.
Super Bowl poll. Thank you. I knew there was some context for something like that. So,
you're like, I know things.
There you go. Go follow what's going on there. And of course, Dave Podnar with the iPhoneography podcast.
Yep, pretty much Prof Pod everywhere except for TikTok, as long as it's still up, Prof Pod PGH. And I have started, just because I've join Substack, just so I can follow other people. Again, if someone has something on one platform, I don't trust that one platform is going to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to follow them as many places as possible. A lot of people started to push their Substack. I started to read stuff there. I said, well, might as well publish some stuff now and then. So I'm using it right now primarily for photos and edits of photos. So we'll see if I kind of keep it there going forward and try to keep it grouped around one thing and focused.
Fantastic. Go check it out. And I'm at Sorgatron on all the social medias. You can see everything that's going up with me, including whatever wrestling show I'm doing this. I guess just this Thursday is all I'm doing. We're going to be, most of the stuff's internal this weekend. We're going to be doing a media day for one of our little shows and everything. So, thank you, everybody. And thank you, intern John, for helping out on the social medias and everything in the background and inputting a little bit there. And thank you guys out there. You have been our awesome audience. Have an awesome week. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at Sorgatron.